Well, folks, welcome to this week's A Sportsman's Life. Look who Mr. Jeff and I have with us. Mr. Whitetail is going to be has been part of our show for a few weeks. Larry is going to impart some knowledge each week and some fun.
It's all fun.
It is all fun, and I am truly honored to be with you guys. I'll tell you what, Luke and I have been doing radio for a while. Almost 11 years, every Saturday morning or throughout the week as well too, and I've had the opportunity to spend time around Jeff through Luke, and I am truly honored to be part of this. And really what my kind of part that I kind of see is kind of a Q&A kind of thing, where we'll talk about different hunting tips, learning about optics, learning about hunting gear, learning about rifles, all those kind of things. Just pure simple information that you may already know, but you know, there are a lot of people getting into the outdoors, so we're going to try to take it very basically and bring it forward.
Excellent. And folks, if you think running with these two rascals is not fun, this is really serious hard work, but we're going to jump into our show, so stay with us every week. Larry's going to be here, Jeff's always with us. We're going to have a great time, and we want you to be right here every week with us.
Welcome to A Sportsman's Life, folks. Glad to have you along with me this week. We've got a snap block blind right behind you, and I was just getting ready to kind of clean things up, get ready for deer season, and I walked up to that thing, and out came a wasp and just absolutely nailed me on the shoulder. So we're sitting here, got two wasps looking at me, sitting over there on the blind. Now there's three. There's obviously a wasp nest in there, so first tip of the week is bring wasp spray when you first go in. So yep, there's more coming. So we've got a wasp nest in there. You got to be checking this stuff out. I use this blind regularly. This wasp nest hasn't been here very long, so avoid stuff like this. That kind of hurts. Got a pretty good welt going there already, so I'm gonna fight back, folks. Stay tuned. We're going to have a great show for you this week. We've got Larry. He's going to be talking a little bit about browse and getting ready for deer season as well, planting seeds and some different things he's doing on his property, and a lot more fun stuff coming up here on A Sportsman's Life, folks. So stay tuned. We're going to have a great show, and glad you're with us. Let's go kill some wasps. I think we got them. I have the smell of wasp spray for a while. Have those guys around. Pretty nasty. There was a bunch in there. Holy cow. Can't imagine if I would have walked in there. Like I said, this blind, you know, it gets hunted all the time, so it didn't take them long to find that. Remember that one every time you go. The first time to check your blind, be careful. Okay. Back to the show.
Well, hello, my friends. It's your old buddy Luke Clayton, and I'm coming to you from out in the woods by my little cabin behind the house here in the trees. I want to talk to you today, maybe get you fired up doing something you're hunting a little different. For years and years, I grew up shooting when I was a kid, 30-30, and I still hunt with a 30-30 sometime. Then I became a bow hunter. That's all I did. What do you hunt with? Oh, I'm a bow hunter. Well, I'm still a bow hunter, but I hunt with other things too. And I found it to be a lot of fun. This is an Air Force Air Guns Texan, folks, 45 caliber. I shoot Nelson Specialty Ammo Swage bullets in this thing. Big old bullets, 240 grains and bigger. I've probably killed 30 hogs, just guessing, with it. I've killed a lot of exotics, 8 or 10 exotics. I killed a nice buck up on the Dale River Ranch with my Air Force Air Guns Texan. It's a hammer for hogs. Why did I get started in shooting a big bore air gun, or air guns in general? I can answer that. I knew nothing about a PCP air gun that you air up with a tank. And it was just a fun learning curve. And I still love to hunt with my Texan, and I do a lot. Another air gun, this is a Seneca Dragon Claw, and it shoots bullets also, but it shoots the air bolt. You see Mr. Weissoon, Larry, with us quite a bit. He shot a good eater pig, you might remember recently, with his Seneca Dragon Claw. So, you know, load it with an arrow. Not legal during archery season, so don't worry about that. But during rifle season, it's just something different that you might want to try. Seneca Dragon Claw, 50 caliber. Now, if I want to go out, say I want to hunt hogs at night, I have the Wraith right here by Sightmark. You've seen me bragging on this and actually seen a lot of video of the Wraith. It's digital night vision. It's a day and night scope actually. I've hunted with it during the day. Use it at night also. I mean, it's just shoot a hog at 125 yards on a pitch dark night, no problem. So I have it mounted on a, probably a little contradictory to what most hog hunters do. They have the ARs, but mounted on a little 223. And this, I have killed a bunch of hogs. So if I want to shoot a hog at night, I grab this, make sure my batteries are hot in my Wraith, and I go get them. Now, okay, what about the old 30-30? I still like to hunt with it. It's what you stalking hogs in the woods. This little thing is so light. I did mount a quality peep sight on the back. I had to buy another front sight that was the right height. This thing at 75 yards will shoot like a 2-inch group all day long and out to 100. I feel comfortable shooting it out to 100 yards. So another tool that I hunt with. Am I a 30-30 hunter? Sometimes, but not all the time. And then something that's really overlooked, in my opinion, is small game hunting. This is a Ruger 1022 scoped, and it's an absolute tack driver. I sighted in at about 50 feet where it's dead on for squirrel hunting. You can knock the squirrel out of the tallest pin oak tree with this. So what I'd like you to take away from this little segment here, don't be afraid to try something new. Don't box yourself in that, you know, to the point that you won't try a new sporting arm or a bow or whatever. Try something new, and don't forsake, you know, dance with what brung you. I still shoot my, you know, my gearhead bows, but it's just so much fun, really, folks, to try different things in the outdoors. So we'll get back to our show. Hopefully this will maybe spark you on, if you've never done, I have a muzzle loader in there in the cabin. I still hunt with a muzzle loader every now and then. I still like it. But try something new in the outdoors, folks. I think it might just put the spark back into your hunting.
One of the more enjoyable things about having access to property, this happens to be my little place. It's been in our family since about probably the 1860s or somewhere along through there. The family finally got title to it in 1876. But this is where I grew up hunting, and been gone a long time. Finally started coming back in here trying to set this property up a little bit more for management as far as deer are concerned and wildlife. My brother runs cattle on it, and we kind of set up a rotational grazing system. But I wanted to come out and have a check on, we've got a persimmon tree here that looks like it's loaded. Now deer, coyotes, and just about everything else likes persimmons. And just looking, it looks like we're going to have a bumper crop. There's still probably about, I'm saying maybe 2 or 3 weeks before they're starting to ripe. They'll turn absolutely kind of a pinkish orange, if you will. But this tree has been here for a long time. Finally, I've gotten some more young growth coming as well too. And what I've been doing is every time there's an opportunity, I've grabbed a handful of persimmons and just kind of carried them around and put them out on different places. So got persimmon trees starting to planted persimmon seeds, if you will, all over the place. Got a trail camera set up down here. Let's go see if I can find out. I don't have a card reader with me, so I'll just switch out some SD cards. Have a look right back over here. Maybe get an idea too of what deer are eating right now. We do have a lot of fire ants here. One time the fire ants just seemed like they took control, and we lost pretty much all the squirrels, lost our quail during the time when the fire ants really moved in. There were some of the extenuating circumstances, but certainly the fire ants had something to do with the quail loss on the property here, because I grew up during the drought of the 50s when there was no rain for months, and we had an abundance of quail. And then it wasn't long after that we started getting fire ants. And regardless of what some of the research has shown here on our property, it seemed like we lost all of our quail whenever we started getting fire ants. For a long time we didn't have any jackrabbits, we didn't have any cottontails, had very few fawns, lost quite a few of our calves as well too, because the fire ants could go to the moisture. They would crawl down into the esophagus, and where the esophagus closed down, they would start biting. And same thing with whitetail deer fawns. We lost a lot of whitetail fawns during that time frame, and what had happened is that the animals would starve to death because they would suck the milk in, it'd go down the esophagus to that point, and then come right back up again, so they never got into the stomach. But it seems like the fire ants and wildlife have kind of reached an equilibrium here a little bit. We still have a lot of fire ants, but now we start to see jackrabbits again, and squirrels, and a whole bunch of other things, but no quail. But whitetail deer are doing well. Let's have a look back in here. We'll show you where the spot is real quick and pull up SD card. I'll replace this card. I'll switch them out. I found that's probably the easiest way for me to do. I'm not very technical when it comes to all this. This area right here is basically set up in the bottom of a little creek area. There, 2 or 3 creeks come together right here, as you can see. This is an area that I want to come back in, and I don't really do a whole lot of bow hunting anymore, but I started shooting a crossbow just a little bit, and we're going to try to set up here. This is property that I lease from our neighbor. There's a creek that comes in from this way. There's another little creek comes in there. Creek comes in through this way, and a lot of times those deer congregate right in here. So we'll find out. During the bow season, I can actually shoot a doe here, I think. I'll double check all that, but I think during the bow season I can shoot a doe, and we're getting quite a population of deer here, so it's time to try to start taking some things. Let's walk over here. I noticed one of the things that they're really eating right now is this boat arc right here. We call our boys D arc, BOIS-D-ARC. Some people call it Osage orange, some people call it horse apple. But if you'll notice, all the leaves here where a deer can reach without getting up on its hind legs, they're non-existent. The same thing right now I noticed that they're eating a lot of is is this greenbrier. You can see right here. See how it's been hedged? You can actually see where it's been nipped off. They're eating a lot of that. Here particularly, look at this one. You can see where they've been eating the fresh shoots coming off. So generally what I try to do this time of the year is in the next several weeks, next several days actually, I'll go get some triple 13 fertilizer, and I'll find little pockets of this greenbrier or smilax, whichever you want to call it, and I'll try to fertilize a little bit. You can actually create your own food plot by fertilizing some of these native plants like this. Wherever you have the smilax, a friend of mine from New Mexico used to call it green barbed wire, but it's got a lot of thorns on it, as you can see, and they, ouch, that's what they do, is they hurt you. But there's a lot of them here, so we'll find some more of those. We'll come back and do that on another segment. One of the things that I've done on my property is, for years, our property has been overgrazed, and we've had to pretty much make a living off of it all these many years. My dad and granddad and great-granddad, and for years or two since it's been mine, my part of it, we've had cattle running on it. I'm a big proponent of using cattle as far as grazing is concerned. This particular little chunk right here, there's probably about 6-8 acres. It's right along a little dry creek bottom, and what I've done is we've fenced it out. We can keep cattle off of it for 2 years without losing our ag exemption. So this is year 1. It's amazing how quickly some of these things come back. I've got some catalpa seeds. It produces a great big leaf, and it produces a little worm, or worms like it really well. So those catalpa worms provide a good amount of food for a lot of different small mammals, if you will, and birds as well too. So I'm going to try to just throw some seeds, but we're going to have a look real quickly. I want to walk around some of the edges of there's a couple little water holes maybe still left, or maybe one barely left, and I want to plant some of these seeds around it. And then I want to check on the growth of some of the little oaks. What I've been doing is every time I've had the opportunity to come up with acorns, persimmons, plums that are native to eastern 2/3 of Texas, I've been picking up seeds and planting browse out here. So some of my little oaks are coming up. We'll have a look and see what we can find. Let's walk back in here and see what we do find. When I was just a little kid, this entire bottom was big trees like this, and oh my gosh, all kinds of different acorn producing trees. We had a lot of plum trees, a lot of persimmon trees down here in the bottom. And back in the 1950s, the Soil Conservation Service was really big on cleaning out properties totally. And so what they did is they talked my dad into essentially into coming in here and sloping this creek, pushing down most of the big trees. Thankfully he left some of these big oak trees, as you can see right around here behind me. These oaks are probably 300-400 years old, and I wouldn't be surprised some of them are a little bit older. But as a result of that, I wanted to keep cattle off of here for just a little bit, let vegetation grow along the edges of the banks to kind of prevent some erosion. Here in about another year, I think we've got one more year before I put cattle back in it without losing the ag exemption. I'll run some cattle in here and do part of the rotational grazing system that my brother now has set up on the property. And we'll run them in here for just a little bit, but I want to get my oaks up a little bit taller so I don't have to worry about cattle. One of the things I've noticed about cattle, and my brother and I have been watching, his cattle are Hereford and Angus, which are the European breeds, if you will. Most people think that those cattle will not eat any weeds. Well, the first thing that we noticed when we put them into a pasture that hadn't been grazed for about 3 or 4 or 5, sometimes 6 months, is the first thing they seem to go after is not the green growth of grass, but pretty much the forbs, what we would call forbs, the other people call weeds that are really good for wildlife. So that's one of the reasons you set up a rotational grazing system is to keep the grass cover, and we've got a tremendous grass cover in here right now. And we can control it either by the plow, by fire, or by cattle, and we'll do a little bit of all three probably. The hogs have been doing a pretty good job as far as the plow is concerned. These old oak trees, the last couple of years, have been unbelievably laden with acorns. We've had acorn crops that just, you couldn't hardly walk without stepping on them. But I've noticed that was for 3 years in a row. And what I'm seeing now is they don't have any acorns on them this year. We'll look at some of the others as well, but for the most part, there are no acorns on most of these trees. By now they should be almost fully developed. And as you can see, there's some other things there, but some growth, but it's not acorn growth.
Folks, as an old outdoors writer, I have used lots of products. Smoking Tex electric smokers, the best smokers that you can find. This is Diz and this is Scott, my buddies. Diz, tell them how they can learn more about Smoking Tex.
Yeah, obviously the number one source of information is going to be our website. It's got hundreds of recipes, it's got helpful guides, it's got all of our models and our accessories listed there. Of course, we have a phone number, 888-922-1511, and we'll actually answer our own phones.
That's true. And Diz, the main thing, the easy way, smokingtex.com. You can learn all about it.
Correct. And of course, we're on all the social media, Instagram, Facebook, etc. So take a look at us whenever you can, and whatever social media you'd like, and we look forward to working with you.
We've got a tropical storm headed this way. Hopefully that'll create some rain and we'll get some of these little water holes filled up. These little areas right here with this kind of smartweed that's here is just ideal for ducks. This stuff that's right here, will later, you can see it grows pretty much just here in these low spots, but it'll produce a great amount of duck feed. So if we get any kind of moisture at all, get some of these little holes filled up, we ought to have a fair amount of ducks in here. In the past, I've had several pairs of wood ducks that nest along this area right here, so hopefully that'll happen again this year. We've got a red-tailed hawk, two pair that nest in these big old oak trees right here. One of the things with pulling the cattle off of here for the time being too is if you'll walk right over here, you'll notice that we've got a whole lot of these little oaks coming up. These little oaks like this are great little places for deer food, to be honest with you. We've noticed that in the other part of the property, one of the things that they're really eating is the smilax or greenbrier, and then of course the bodark or Osage orange or horse apple, whatever you want to call it. And that's one of the things that I want to do in the future is that every time I get an opportunity to find one of the big horse apples, rather than doing anything else with it, I'm going to be coming out here and planting it because it is a really good deer browse for this part of the country. And that's one of the ways you can tell what's good for what deer really like. If you get out right now or any time of the year and you start seeing where the deer have really been nipping on the edges of it, or all the leaves to a certain level are gone, it tells you the deer are really getting after it, and it's one of those browse species that you may want to plant some more of. We do have a lot of wild hogs here as well too. And you can see some of the places where they've been wallowing. I'm surprised they haven't gotten this little mud hole right here. This little hole a lot of times will hold water a pretty good while, and I think it's primarily because it's pretty much in the shade. One of the things I want to do in the future is you got to have long-term plans. The long-term plan is to come back in here where this spot is right there and dig it to about 5 or 6 feet deep so that there will be water in here quite a bit all the time. But you can see by the tracks around it, the hogs have been coming in here. But I talked about some of the big oak trees. My standing beside this tree kind of gives you a perspective of how big this old tree is. One of the things I want to do is plant some of this catalpa. It grows a big leaf. There's a catalpa worm that when I was a kid that likes catalpa trees that I'll tell you, was one of the best fish baits there was when it came to any kind of natural bait. So I'm going to try to plant a few of these. Just kind of let them fall where they want to. And if they grow, they grow. You can see that they're airborne. Watch this one fly if I toss it. It just kind of goes where it wants to. And so that's what we're doing here with these. As we're walking, one of the things I want to do, I always do when I come out here, is look at the vegetation and see what the deer been eating on and see what's growing. One of the things that you can see here coming on, this is a little Mustang grapevine. There were, when I was a youngster, grew up Mustang grapes growing in every one of these trees. So it's just an opportunity to try to bring back. This is a native grape and it grows really well here. Now if you look around a little bit, there's little oaks like here. There's lots of these little oaks coming up. And as I said, there's several different varieties of oaks. From here, there are red oaks and there's a lot of live oaks. There's a lot of white oaks in this area too. And one of the things that I've done is to try to get seeds from this particular area. And as I've been going around, just dropping them, and you can see they're real. Here's another one right here. And then, if you look up here, this is a little white oak coming on. See how you can tell the difference is look at the lobes. The lobes on a white oak are rounded, kind of like that one is, whereas red oaks have a tendency where they have points. We'll find some of those a little bit too. But all these are coming on strong. Here's another one. This one's growing really nicely right now. And that's been kind of my goal, is to try to get more oaks coming up in this area. But I've also planted persimmon and a few other things in here. They're, as I said, they're native species and kind of found in this area. But for whatever reason, with the grazing that we've had, and we've had a lot of deer here in spots as well too. But try to control our deer population really starting this year. We're trying to bring it up for a while. We're now to the point where we can starting to harvest does, which we'll start doing this year. Hot now, hopefully it'll cool off a little bit in the next few days. Started out this morning with a breeze out of the north and it was absolutely fantastic. Now it switched to the southeast, but I think that's the direction that the storm's coming from in the next 2 or 3 days. Started to see some clouds, so hopefully we'll come back here in a week and all this, what we're looking at right here, will be underwater. At least this little hole right here. So until next week, we'll see how things go. Thank you for joining me.
Well, folks, you know, a couple of years ago, Texas made it legal to hunt with air rifles, big bore air rifles. Now, me and my buddy, Mr. Wysoon here, Larry has got an air rifle that shoots arrows.
Also known as bolts, I have learned.
Bolts are arrows, and this is the Seneca Dragon Claw, 50 caliber. It also shoots bullets.
It does. I prefer to shoot the arrows because it's a little bit different compared to everything that I've done in the past. I used to tease people, you ever going to shoot a bow again? I said, yeah, as soon as I can shoot it out of a gun. Well, guess what? Now I can shoot a broadhead bolt out of an air gun.
That's
with
right.
This particular model.
And we're out here hog hunting on our buddy Jeff Rice's Buck and Bass Ranch. Got a broadhead on there. Cape buffalo have been killed with this rig.
Right, Keith Warren is taking Cape buffalo, and don't tell him what else he's taking in Africa. So it's a great tool. It's a new way of hunting as far as I'm concerned, and I'm anxious to try it this year.
And Larry, that's part of it. It was new to me when I first started shooting air guns about 9 years. Big bore air guns, PCP guns. It was brand new, and that was part of the allure to me. It was something new, and I got to learn about it. Now, so Larry has the arrow hunting with the bolt or the arrow covered with the Seneca Dragon Claw. Great setup. Now, if you want to use, now this is what I hunt with. This is Air Force Air Guns Texan. Now, this is the carbine model. They make a longer barreled model that gets a little more velocity, but I've killed a bunch of critters, hogs, and I killed a nice buck with this rig last year. So Air Force Air Guns Texan, they make, this is 45 caliber. They make a 50 caliber, which I haven't shot yet, but this will generate over 500 foot-pounds of energy. So bullets, Mr. Wysoon's got his arrows. you think, well, what kind of bullets? You'd think, well, it's an air gun, maybe a little light bullet. These are Swage bullets here, and Nielsen Specialty Ammo makes them. Now, you probably can't see them this close, but they're a very well-made, well-designed bullet as far as for air guns, strictly. So, Larry, I think we've maybe give the folks a good primer in air gunology.
It is. It's a new way of hunting, legal now in Texas. Bows, this one can't be used during the archery season, but it can be used with an arrow during the regular hunting season. So just something new to play with and a new kind of adventure. And if you haven't tried it yet, let me suggest that you do. I think you'll be truly impressed.
I think so, Larry. And for folks that, well, where do I get all this stuff? Pyramid Air is the largest air gun supply company in the world. Just go to Pyramid Air. They have people there that you can actually call if you're going to have some questions. If you don't know someone that's already shooting these big bores, well, Pyramid Air has some folks that can help you out. So hopefully this little tutorial with Mr. Weissoon and myself, hopefully it'll help you get started in something that's fun to do.
Well, friends, welcome back. Thanks again for joining us on this week's show. Gosh, guys, we have so much fun doing this stuff, don't you think? I mean,
I know.
This is out of this world fun.
Oh.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate and how honored I truly am to be with you guys.
Well,
and all those folks out there too.
absolutely. We want to thank you folks for joining us each week. We have fun bringing this stuff to you, and we certainly appreciate you joining us, liking us, sharing us, and joining us for another adventure. We'll have another exciting adventure next week, so stay tuned, and until then, be safe in the outdoors. And a special thanks to Air Force Air Guns, Dallas Safari Club, Hornaday, Pyramid Air, Nielsen Specialty Ammo, Sightmark, Smoke and Tex, and Striper Express.